panel, all our judges are keen to hear your pitch. I will hand over to the judges and they will have up to 15 minutes to put their questions to you. When you are doing your pitch, your presentation, if those of you who aren't presenting could turn your cameras off just for that moment, but then please do turn them back on when we get to the judges' questions so that we can see the whole team. Please feel free to present in your preferred language. You should see somewhere on your device, there is an interpretation button at the bottom usually of your screen. We do have simultaneous translation available, so you can select there the channel if you want to select a preferred language in which to hear the conversations today. A plea from myself and from the translators, please do speak as clearly as possible. And I know you only have the 10 minutes, but try not to speak too fast just to make sure that we have our translators can keep up with everybody. If you have presentation slides, don't forget when you go to your pitch to share your screen, and then we can see those slides as you do your presentation. Before we start, I just want to check in with our judges, make sure they are all good to go. Yep, we have the hands up from the judges. Okay, so I am going to invite Team 9, those of you who are presenting. I'm going to come over to you now, and you are welcome to begin your presentation. Good luck from me.
If back up.
Are you able to share, or do you want me to take?
I got it. Sorry, one second
Perfect.
here. Can you see my screen?
Yep, that's all good. We can see your screen.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are good to start, and I guess I'll leave it to you, Catherine.
Great, thank you. Putting Canada's public funds to best use is the public service's #1 priority. This team represents data analysts from 5 different departments. We joined the government expecting that we'd have the tools and infrastructure to do our jobs properly. Instead, everyone is working in silos, and we're trying to solve the same business problems on fragmented platforms with inconsistent or even non-existent data standards without any way to collaborate meaningfully across the departments. The GC does not have a data problem. It has a data infrastructure problem. What if there was a magic box, a set of tools and data used by all public service to access and analyze a common data analytics platform to enable and empower public servants in all departments to solve many shared business problems? Introducing TARDIS.
So our solution is the Tools, Analytics, and Reference Data Information System. It provides federal public servants with a collaborative data analytics space to access authoritative reference data. And it consists of 3 parts. So there'll be a common reference table and catalog area. And that would be where for reference tables that are usable across government for administrative and analytic purposes with a single authoritative source. Here, reference data is referring to data that classifies or categorizes other data, and so it's a foundational data for data models. And that could include things like a list of federal departments or a list of commodity codes like NAICS codes. It also consists of a common tools area where code can be shared and tools shared as well that do common things for around financial, policy, data preparation, and publishing purposes. And it will include a collaboration and experimentation area, and that would be good for common issues, like working on common issues together, or for major events such as wildfires or a G7 meeting. Governance would be very important to the system as well, so it can evolve over time and stay authoritative, discoverable, and manageable. And we have something about that in the annex.
TARDIS fits an existing widespread need for the Government of Canada. We'll be successful in implementing it because TARDIS will complement, enhance, and align with existing tools. It'll help many public servants to work better and more effectively every day. It'll support whole of government analysis and drive cross-departmental collaboration. and it'll be accessible, bilingual, and it will not contain sensitive data. The strength of our proposal lies in its ability to help people with everyday business problems. Consider an analyst who has an unstructured data set of letters of agreement, for example, between their department and other departments, but the department name is entered manually, so there's no consistency in department names. Here, they can use TARDIS to first access the reference data, so here are listed department names, and second, they can use TARDIS to access a Python script that cleans and transforms the data so all department names are consistent. Now the data set can be easily analyzed and reported on. You can see just from this one example that TARDIS will enable public servants to solve everyday problems. TARDIS will enable easy access to a single source of useful, up-to-date common reference data to integrate into data models and analysis, for example, the list of departments or classification codes. It'll allow public servants to get colleague support for data problems, like, for example, if I need help with a Power BI data model. It'll let people share tools that can save many people time with everyday tasks, like a Python script that shows the difference between two data sets. And most importantly, it makes it possible for people to come together using the same tools and data to solve problems that would benefit from multi-department collaboration, like automation of data mining and preparation for ATIPs, parliamentary questions, or proactive disclosure, which every department spends many FTEs on annually. TARDIS will leverage the existing data analytics service, also known as DAS, hosted and managed by StatCan. It's an analytics platform that has a strong foundation and ongoing support. The platform embraces open source data standards and tools, contributing to sustainability and interoperability of TARDIS. For collaboration and documentation, TARDIS will leverage existing proven tools like GitHub, GC Exchange, and MS Teams. And to ensure wide adoption and accessibility, regardless of users' technical abilities, a suite of persona-based training plans will be made available. So as you can see, TARDIS is not only feasible, but it's incredibly scalable and economical.
Merci, Sean. La solution proposée alignée avec les stratégies de données de 23 à 26 pour la fonction publique fédérale.
For the federal public service, in order to enhance decision making based on data and increase sharing of data, namely in between the different departments. There will be standardized data table available to all services, a repository, centralized repository of data. This will favor the centralization towards the final user and in fostering sharing within the different departments. It also complies with the given governance roadmap, standardizing the protocol, and agrees with the deployment of the strategic plan of 21-24. By improving the method and the efficiency, this will stimulate the use in order to grant a trustworthy and usable platform.
TARDIS has many benefits which align with the FAIR data principles: findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. However, the primary overarching theme of benefits for TARDIS is that it can be used to access authoritative, standardized data and provides analysts with a common tool set to get data to decision makers faster and more accurately. The administrative burden on departments will also be reduced. There is a cost to the taxpayer if each department is independently producing its own reference data. TARDIS can be used to help bring down those costs. With TARDIS, analysts can spend time on higher value taskings instead of spending time finding, vetting, and verifying reference data. They can focus on providing high quality insights that decision makers can trust. Risks and mitigation. As part of our due diligence process, we have identified a few risks and ways to mitigate them. There may be issues of low uptake. There are a lot of great ideas put forward by public servants that just collect dust on the proverbial bookshelf. To mitigate low uptake, we will work with departmental data governance teams to promote the use of TARDIS through the GC on an ongoing basis. Access and security, as we all know, is a potential risk as well. That is why we are going with the existing infrastructure that StatCan provides via their DAS team. Tool alignment is another potential concern. We will work with the StatCan DAS team to ensure we are in alignment with their vision as well. Finally, we operate in an environment of fiscal austerity. However, our project is low cost and promotes cost avoidance. Our risks have been identified, planned for, and mitigated against.
Thank you, Sean. We've held meetings with Microsoft, the Financial Assistant Controller General, StatCan, and the Data and Information teams. These discussions have garnered support for our proposal and confirmed the way forward for TARDIS. which reinforces the broader GC strategy. It also follows the DevOps Infinity Loop methodology and aims to revolutionize public service data management. Depuis mars 2024, l'équipe s'est concentrée sur l'alignement et les soutiens, jetant ainsi les
For a
bases
number of
des
years, we focus on the alignment by setting the basis of this project by soliciting the advice of experts. We have looked at the different aspects linked to data in order to make sure of the robustness of the service. We will start in November with the key services. In the year 2025, all stakeholders will start adopting and launching the platform through the engagement of volunteers. Efforts in June will focus on collaboration. In November, we will be able to focus on the scale up of the project. This TARDIS project showed the highlights in terms of management, data management, and innovation.
TARDIS is financially viable. It streamlines and consolidates existing technical infrastructure. It's actually already partially set up, and probably its biggest selling point is that it fixes ubiquitous problems. At a memoranda to cabinet meeting I was at just a few weeks ago, someone cited different date formats being a big obstacle for a certain interdepartmental HR initiative. Right now, Aaron is working on a project that is hindered by the lack of authoritative reference data. I'm sure many of you have similar stories. TARDIS ultimately does three things. It provides a common platform for all those working with government data. It implicitly promotes a set of common data standards. And in the process, it also reduces redundant work on a massive scale for extremely common, time-consuming problems that frustrate all data analysts. And that's the beauty of it. Many challenges faced by data analysts are similar, and TARDIS is the scaffold for the open culture we need to solve common data problems more efficiently. It's a grassroots initiative. For TARDIS, we've united analysts from 5 different departments and have put together something we would all find useful, something that was only possible through the public sector data challenge. We're done with silos. We want an environment where it's not every data analyst for themselves, but where analysts across government can work together in a collective effort. How are we supposed to make high quality data-driven decisions if we don't even have access to foundational data? The GC doesn't have a data problem, but it does have a data infrastructure problem. Thank you very much for listening to our presentation. We know it's been a long day, and we'd be happy to take your questions now. Thank you very much for listening.
William, thank you so much et merci beaucoup pour ça. I'm going to go straight over to the judges. Certainly a topic of great interest at the moment. If you don't mind stopping, don't share the screen anymore so we can see all of you. That's fantastic. Dominic, I'm coming straight over to you.
All right, guys. You've got my full attention. I don't know if you are familiar with the CDO Council. So it is a governance committee that exists in the Government of Canada, where CDOs and a few of them around the table here participate in. And we've started to approve reference data standards. And my question every time we approve them, and I believe you have the solution here, but it's fine that we approve these. But how do we make sure that we make it easy for data analysts to connect their Power BI directly to the source so they don't have to go and download it from open data and make sure to update it every 6 months or whatever the case is, that they can just connect to it. So if you can confirm to me today that what you are trying to do is put those reference data sets somewhere where even application developers or BI analysts could go connect through APIs, connect their solutions, preferred solutions too, and just play, I'll be very happy if this answer is yes.
I can see lots of heads nodding. Who would like to take this question?
I'll start. Thank you for that. Music to all of our ears. This is exactly what we're intending to achieve with TARDIS. So thankfully, we're leveraging the huge investment that StatCan's already made in setting up the infrastructure and doing the difficult part. So for us, it's setting that environment up, getting the reference data in, and making it as easy as possible for regular public servants to access it in a variety of methods. So Power BI, for example, connecting directly via web APIs, that's part of our vision. But if somebody wants to go in and connect via another means, like go right into the environment, open Power BI desktop, connect to it that way, that's part of the vision. So the vision is ultimate flexibility in connecting to that authoritative source of reference data to help with everyday business problems.
Thanks, Sean. Does anyone else on the team want to add anything to that? No, all good. Brilliant, thank you. Judges, yes, Erica, coming to you.
I think the problem really speaks to all of us. So I'm from IRCC, as you know, person-based data exists across government. Just to describe John Smith is John Smith in IRCC as it is in, you know, CRA, ESDC. It's been a huge problem because of the lack of standards across the GC. So I'm curious to see if the team has done a little bit of environmental analysis to see what kind of data catalogs and standards that exist within departments that are, let's say, data rich. You did refer to connecting, I think I saw data catalogs and a few other tools. Have you done that kind of environment scan to see what already exists and what can become readily available if you had a platform ready to go?
So I'll start and then the team can jump in for what I missed. So although we're not experts in this domain, we have a great idea of what would be useful, and we recognize that there are experts in the field out there already. So we're already starting consultations at StatCan with the Center on Statistical and Other Data Standards for reference and metadata standards and looking at what the landscape looks like. Additionally, there are already working groups set up at TBS, for example, the Community of Practice on Data and Information. And their mandate is looking at the landscape of reference data that exists and figuring out what would be the best way to pull that together, get approval on it, make it available. And they definitely see value in what we're providing. So part of our strategy going forward is to go beyond those groups, see what else is out there, so we can make sure we have as wide of a scope as possible when it comes to what kind of reference data we end up bringing in TARDIS.
Allow me to jump in to complement.
Yeah.
I am the secretary of the Data Governance Steering Committee at Health Canada, and one thing that we implemented there was a data inventory. So once we have these meetings next year, we are going to gather all the information we have from all departments, seeing and optimize the solutions that they already have in place. But for sure, data governance, data stewardship, all those components of data that are suggested and recommended on the data strategy, on the policy for service and digital, all of them have been followed, and for sure we're going to implement those.
Thanks, Leo. Anyone else, or I'm going to go over to the judges. Yes, Gabrielle.
Thanks for this, and certainly appreciate somebody tackling data at its foundations, because we don't we do it, but we don't do it cross departmentally, as I think it was Catherine opened with this earlier. So I'd like you to talk about, and I would say that we've poked this bear a few times in various government committees. How do you see tackling the challenges of speaking with one voice for the government when it comes to getting consensus around all of this and putting it into a format that is digestible and agreed upon by everyone? And so that would be sort of one major challenge that I see. But if there are other challenges that you guys see and that you ladies see, if there's anything else, if you wanted to highlight those and what your mitigation strategies might be. Thanks.
So I think part of our strategy is for sure leveraging the existing groups that have already spent quite a bit of time looking at this. And I think the benefit of TARDIS here is, since it's an operational area where people can come and work and play with data and tools, we have an opportunity where if some of these groups come up with a recommendation for what a set of reference data could look like, we could easily ingest it into the TARDIS environment, get people to start using it, and give us feedback, not just from an abstract perspective, but they can actually start using it for actual work purposes, and we could get real feedback that way. And we could bring that feedback back to the owners of the reference data, if you will, the ones who've made recommendations for, province standards or department name standards. So we see TARDIS as very complementary to some of those groups, so that we can provide real-time feedback of what's working and what's not.
Aaron, did you want to come as well?
I might just add, so in the past, there was a federal geospatial platform, and as part of that, they had a few working groups for the data, for the tools, and for the technology. And then they had a board of directors and sort of a little structure that way. And then they had a secretariat hosted somewhere. So that model kind of allowed for departments to have input to the data and talk about data maturity and do surveys about to find out what the department's maturity was and kind of set standards.
Thanks, Aaron. And Sean Nielsen, you want to come in as well?
Yeah, just a comment. I think there's like a policy window opening right now. We're supposed to be making data-driven decisions, and also we have generative AI that's coming in. So we both need strong, like reliable data to feed into artificial intelligence or generative AI systems, and also we need strong authoritative data to make those strong data-driven decisions if Canada wants to remain competitive and at the leading edge globally.
Thanks, Sean. Judges, I'm coming back to you. Yes, Dominic, and then Elise. Dominic, and then Elise.
Sorry, Elise. Got to follow up. I'm what I would like to recommend, and it might be boring in a way, but is to de-risk a lot of this. I think what you don't need to solve everything. We actually have governance processes in play today that there's an official CDO council working group set to going through the engagement to define new reference data standards and develop them. We have four that are already approved. Use those as a use case here, get those out there, and then we already have a process to govern them and get them approved. There may be an opportunity for more your bronze level where it's not quite approved through governance yet, but for people to play in would be interesting. But you could de-scope this and make it real simple of using whatever is approved today and just giving it a home to live in and make it accessible to everyone, and leverage existing processes and machinery that we've got in place today to cover the rest. That way it makes your initiative a lot less risky. So it's less of a question, more of a comment and awareness for you that you don't need to undertake all those challenges. There are lots of people getting paid to do that already.
Thanks, Dominic.
Fantastic idea.
Elise.
As a proud member of the CDO working group on data standard, this is really, really cool stuff. And I don't know who did the programming of what project we were seeing when, but it's a good way to energize a bunch of CDO to come and talk to them about data management. So thank you very much for this. I just building a little bit on what Dominic is saying. Like, I hear the techie part of what you're doing. I think it's super important, and I think it's going to help bridge some of the things. Just to share with you some of my musing on being part of that working group for about a year now. Like, I'm still fighting with folks in my department that are telling me they're going to talk about postal code, and I tell them I will not be arguing with Canada Post about postal code, so find something else to work on. And I think that's something we see throughout the government, and that speaks to not just the work that you're doing, but who's the expert on this, and we follow. So I really appreciate the fact that you're leveraging Stats Canada, who sounds to me like they have that in their names in terms of what we do. And that connection, I really see, I think you meant it in the way you presented, but I would encourage you to highlight that fact, that streamlining, that connection, that collaboration, that providing access to the expert. And just the last thing is on Dominic point, I would really encourage you to go to the soft side of the data standard, because it's really about that culture change, about getting people comfortable saying, I'm not sure what's the right answer. And instead of digging their heels and not doing anything, getting to the why and the working together. So I don't know what's going to happen today. I don't know what else is going to happen with the Public Service Data Challenge, but I think you really hit a nerve. And I would even consider, like, how do we bring that to the CDOC, even as just, what does that mean? So not much of a question. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for making something that can be super dry, very accessible.
Thanks, Elise. So it sounds like there's a future here, regardless of what happens today, I think. But do we have a final question from any of the judges? I think we've got a lot of positive feedback and positive input, but I think that's it for our questions. Well, thank you so much, Team TARDIS. Thank you for your presentation. Good luck going forward. And I'm now going to invite you to exit the call. Thanks to all of you. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. That's it. Thank you, judges. I think that's your final one. And then Brett, I'm going to hand over to you.